All right. Episode number 249 of the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's still no business like minding your own. I'm your host, Champ Ron. We're here February the 24th of 2021. Hope that things are going well. We're coming out of the thawing of America. I'm here in Memphis, Tennessee. We're actually in the 70s today. And so last week it was zero. So that just tells you exactly where we are. We go within 1 week, we go from 0 degrees to 70 degrees. So that's life here on planet Earth these days. Subscribe to the podcast, 5-star, wherever you get your pods. That helps us continue to grow the MYB community. And of course, you can always find me at champronbrooks.com. Text me 901-545-3328. I'd love to be able to connect with you, get you a copy of my free ebook, Investing in Real Estate with Little to No Money Down. I'd love to be able to get that out to you. So hit me up, 901-545-3328. Listen, I've got great entrepreneur, one of the great young entrepreneurs that's in the game, that's doing big things with his business and his franchise. I've got Neel Parekh here that's joining. He's the founder and CEO of MaidThis and the MaidThis franchise. And we're going to get into some things mindset wise. We're going to learn a little bit about his background and about his business, how you can support his business, which is very important, and a few nuggets that you could take away with you as you go along with your journey. So Neel, man, appreciate you so much for taking time. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier, man, so I appreciate you navigating those with me and being here.
Excited to be here, Champ. Thanks for having me. And I am live from California, where the weather's a little bit different from where you are, but maybe more similar now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Are you Southern SoCal or Northern California?
Southern California, Los Angeles.
Oh man, yeah. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, you didn't endure the freeze, although you guys have had the the wildfires and stuff like that, some months back. But
yeah, you guys deal with cold weather and snow ins. We deal with fire weather and like ash everywhere. So it's just it is kind of ridiculous how many different things this country deals with.
Right, no doubt about it, Neel. No doubt, man. So, man, let's jump right in. Tell us about yourself and kind of your journey to get to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you for the intro. My name is Neel Parekh. I run a company called MaidThis, MaidThis, and MaidThis franchise now.
Yeah.
So I actually started my career in finance. I worked in venture capital, private equity for a while. So I was there for a few years. And at the time, I just wanted to start some sort of side hustle. I liked what I did. It was good, but I just wanted something a little bit more. Wasn't sure what to do. So I was really trying a bunch of different things out.
Okay.
One of them was a cleaning company. Champ, you ever been on Reddit?
Yeah, I have.
Cool. Yeah. So I was on Reddit one day. I was on the subreddit Entrepreneur, and the top post was a guy who started a cleaning company.
Okay.
He listed the steps. So I thought, what the hell, why not? This is one of many things I'm trying out. So I started doing the steps and started working, started to grow. A couple years after that is when I decided to quit my job while the business was growing. Booked a one-way flight to South America and was mostly traveling, working remotely for the last 5 years before COVID, and then came back because of COVID, just building my business. And as of last year, launched the franchise portion of it. So franchising out what we're doing with a lot of Airbnb cleaning to the world. So that's my business story, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. What kind of drove that, that idea, right? Did you work with any partners or anything like that? Or was this kind of you kind of from a solo standpoint?
Yes, but it's me from a solo perspective. And I guess the motivation would be different from the idea, but the motivation was two things. One, I wanted to eventually quit and travel. I just thought, hey, this is something I want to do. I thought I'd be gone for like a year backpacking and come back and figure something else out. So I kind of wanted something to do on the side, fund my travels. And the other part was my parents. I wanted to help provide for them financially. So
gotcha.
Champ, did you ever go to like Blockbusters or video rental stores back in the day?
Yeah, man. What's funny, Neel, is, man, I worked for Blockbuster.
Did you?
When I was a kid? Yeah, man. That's the first time I saw the Austin Powers movie was Quick Story. So one night, I had one of my boys, we were working at a Blockbuster. We closed that night because, Blockbuster used to stay open till like midnight.
Right.
And so, we had that blue and gold shirt, whatever. And so, people were buzzing about Austin Power. So this is dating me because it's telling you about the time I was working there. It's in the late 90s. But so I had not heard, I just heard people talking about it. So about, in the stores, we couldn't play anything on the TVs that was rated bigger than like PG at the time. And so, Austin Powers is PG-13 and we weren't supposed to play it, but it was just us, kids, right? So we play, Austin Power. We're just dying laughing, and your customers are walking in, they're dying laughing. And that's how I got introduced to even just Austin Powers back then. But yeah, so I was part of the video industry for a little bit.
It's funny how your memory goes from Blockbuster and it's permanently associated in your mind with Austin Powers, right? It's just funny the way that works.
They're always tied together in my mind.
Right. So anyways, my parents had video rental stores. They had for 33 years. Right.
Okay.
So the immigrants to the country opened a video rental stores, did very well. But around the mid 2010s, Netflix was coming on, online streaming. They were not doing that well.
Sure.
So I mainly wanted to provide for them financially so they could pay their mortgage, things like that. So that was two kind of motivations. So because of that, I wasn't too married to what I was trying out to make money.
Sure.
I tried a lot of things online so I could travel, like e-commerce, microblogging. I think my first business was like a pet hair vacuum blog. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It was just something I was trying out.
Yeah.
So this was just an idea which came across me as well. And I thought I'll try it. And once I dove into the local world, I discovered how much of a hidden gem it is, in my opinion. The local market compared to anything else I was trying. I was trying out things which I thought were global, things which I thought were a novel idea. But now in hindsight, I'm like, man, the local market's such a hidden gem. Proven business models, your competition's insulated to just your local market. There's a lot of money to be made.
Sure.
I love it. I love it. So I'm happy that that's kind of what took off and what got me in the local market.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, when you first launched, MaidThis, tell us about those early days, the first few, clients that you work with. Did people really understand your business model, or did you find yourself having to, kind of explain and convince and compel people, or did people kind of just grab it and kind of run with it?
Yeah, good question. I think because I picked an industry which is very well known, cleaning, been around forever. Simple to understand. And we started with heavy on the digital side, meaning online bookings. People call, create a booking, we send them confirmation text. It's very simple. It's just who markets it the best, who has the best customer service.
Sure.
The early stages, honestly, I was just trying to figure things out, right? Like I had the website up, and then after that, it was like, okay, I guess I need to get a cleaner. Let me just find someone.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know how to pay them. Okay, why don't you just pull up outside my work? I'm going to go get cash from the ATM and give it to you. Like it was just like you don't know what you're doing. You're just figuring it out.
Right.
So everything was just like, my nickname at work was like drug dealer, because on lunch breaks I'd go outside and like take business calls. You see me handing out cash to everyone's like from the window, like what is Neel doing?
Right.
So that was my nickname, is just the drug dealer. So your early stages are kind of fun just because like everything's new. Everything feels like you don't know what you're doing at all. Then you figure it out, right? That's how you started, and you figure out a better way, and then you kind of keep going. So
yeah, no doubt about it. And so, as you're growing it and kind of scaling it, are you doing a lot of digital marketing, I guess, and digital advertising to, or what was your kind of customer acquisition strategy, at that point?
So we do two things: residential cleaning, like if you need the monthly, weekly, bi-weekly cleaning, and the other side is pretty fast growing, which is the vacation rental side. That's our specialty. So a lot of times when people need a vacation rental cleaning, meaning between, like a guest checks out and the host needs a cleaning in between, it's a kind of a specialized service.
Sure.
So with us, a lot of times if they see us, it's the perfect service offering for them, because they just find us online through digital marketing, search us on Google. So a lot of the SEO. Then they'll see like, oh, hey, these guys do syncing with my calendar, dedicated crews, like just the works of what's needed. A lot of what else we're doing is digital marketing.
Gotcha.
The reason is that we are remote by nature. And I think we were kind of ahead of the curve. Everyone became remote after COVID.
Right.
We've been remote for 7 years because I needed it to be remote while traveling. That was the goal. I wanted to leave and travel. I had to make this remote from day one. So our team's across 6 different countries right now. Everything is very digital, online, very lean. So because of that, I rely on a lot of digital marketing as opposed to mailers. You can do mailers remote, completely doable, but I just, by nature of where I was in the world, I made everything digital.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I take it, Neil, that you didn't come into this with a pot of gold, right? And so, as you're transitioning from, kind of this corporate life, when you were kind of, again, kind of scaling up your business, did you use like loans and stuff like that, like any kind of debt vehicles, or did you completely bootstrap this? And if you did bootstrap it, uh, yeah, how much did you feel like you had to put into it to really get it moving, right?
Yeah, really good question. I think that's a lot of questions that people have at the beginning. To be
Yeah,
honest, Chip, I think a lot of times people will say, I don't have enough money, I can't start a business. It's an
right.
excuse, right?
Exactly.
And your ebook, zero, no money down, and you could get into real estate. There's lots of ways to do that. When I
Yeah.
started, I think I started all in for like $800.
Ah,
Um, so you don't need that much money to get started, at least. Maybe
right.
eventually when you want to scale, you want to take out money to put into marketing, or you want to take out money to hire someone. But just to get it going, which is the most important step, you don't need that much money.
Right.
Now, I will say, in hindsight, I kind of wish I was a little bit more confident in myself and maybe spent more money either with a loan or something else, because it
Sure.
would have just accelerated what you do. You
Yeah.
think about it, you put a little bit more money up front, but let's say you rank faster on Google, you do marketing better, you hire
Right.
someone quicker, and that way you could get focused on business growth. You could probably cut down the time you're doing stuff by like a year.
Sure.
And now, from how much revenue we're doing, a year would have been a lot more money.
Yeah.
Um, so those things you don't think about at the beginning. So in short, I don't think you need that much money to start, but it can help you get where you want to go faster.
Yep, absolutely. Neel Parekh is our guest today here on episode 249 of the Minding Your Business podcast. So, Neil, you mentioned the niche
Yeah.
with vacation rentals, and that includes like Airbnb and those sort of platforms as well.
Yeah, that's mainly what it is.
Yeah,
So the Airbnb industry, and I'm sure you know this from real estate, boomed, right?
yeah,
It's almost like these
absolutely.
little quasi hotels popped up everywhere, and they're eating the share of Marriott and all these big hotel chains.
Sure.
Now, what these hotels don't have, which the big chains have, is cleaners. So you
Yes.
have a big graph of so many vacation rentals coming up. Cleaning company growth has been happening, but not at the same level. All
Yeah.
of a sudden, there's massive demand for people saying, "Hey, I need housekeepers for my Airbnb."
Right. Exactly.
So that's a lot of what we're doing. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you mentioned, with the pandemic and everything like that. Naturally, the thought process would be, Neil, that took a big hit, obviously, because
Hmm.
travel took a big hit from the pandemic, and it's kind of slowly, kind of reintroducing itself, personally and certainly with business travel. Did you experience a hit in your business as the pandemic came along? And if you did, how did you kind of navigate it? And if you didn't, why do you think you may have avoided, some of the pitfalls that maybe some others hit?
Yeah. So we experienced a hit for sure.
Yeah,
We do lots of residential as well as Airbnbs.
sure.
Residential, everyone was scared to have people in their homes.
Right.
Airbnbs, travel stopped. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So we definitely experienced a hit, but the cool part is that we were able to pivot rather quickly, because what we started to focus on is move in, move out cleanings.
Yeah.
But think about it, regardless of the pandemic or not, people are always going to be moving in or out. A lot of
Right.
people were moving out of LA because they were going to like the countryside or something like that.
Right.
So we got through by doing that. And what I'm seeing now is just definitely a resurgence. A lot of people calling saying, "Hey, I haven't cleaned my place in 6 months. I'm feeling more comfortable. I want to get a cleaning." A
Yeah.
lot more vacation rentals. And Chad, what I'm super excited about is that when the pandemic's over, um, would you rather stay at a crowded hotel, given what's going on, or like your own Airbnb?
Yeah.
What would you
Yeah.
pick?
Yeah. I would pick the Airbnb. And one of the
Mhm.
things I wanted to get your thoughts on with that, Neil, because it's interesting. Because, there are so-called experts that are saying that business travel is going to be impacted, one by, what the pandemic brought on, which is the comfort level at many companies executive levels of virtual meetings, right? Which
Correct.
prior to the pandemic, many, kind of C-suite level folks and board of director level folks were not comfortable with that. They've become more comfortable with it now. But that, business travel could benefit from the Airbnb, because, I think about this for myself. I travel for business, which I
Mm,
haven't sent in almost a year, right? When business travel comes back, you think about, like I said, a hotel, like I attend a lot of conferences.
yeah.
So conference might have, 2,000 people that are, most of them are staying in this one hotel, say like a JW Marriott or something like that. And I mean, everybody's loading up elevators, everybody's, in these exhibit halls, and that sort of thing, where you're going to have a bunch of people all over. You don't know where anybody's come from, that sort of thing. So, I'm wondering if that, Airbnb for business travels could become bigger. I mean, it'll rebound on the personal side, but for someone that travels for business that says, hey, I kind of want to have my own deal here. And if you think of the cost of it, right? I think the
Yeah.
cost of most Airbnbs is less expensive than, like we talked about the JW, which is going to cost you, in most markets, three, maybe $400 a night.
Yeah.
Airbnb
I
is
think
half that.
there's a ton of that, exactly what you said, which
Yeah.
is for all short-term rentals, not just Airbnb as the company, but we'll call it Airbnb, just like we call Band-Aid bandage, but
Right.
Airbnbs in general.
Yeah.
Um, I 100% agree with business travel shifting towards that.
Yeah.
Part of that, which is kind of in favor of what we're doing, is the only reason someone would pick a hotel would be maybe convenience for a conference, or if
Sure.
they have a higher, they're more, they want the brand behind the cleaning standard, right? If they're
Yeah.
worried about getting sick.
Sure.
But if an Airbnb is able to provide the same cleaning standard and say that publicly, that's huge
Yeah.
for them.
Right.
That's kind of where we come in.
Yeah.
But in general, the tailwind behind short-term rentals, a lot of people in the millennial generation only Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Pretty much what it is. And as those people get to more business travel executive level, they're only going to do vacation rentals. Like they're not going to do hotels unless it's maybe a conference or a wedding where it's easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's huge tailwinds behind short-term rentals. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to be huge.
Neil, something else to go along with the spirit of what we're talking about with your business is, the great opportunity that's going to come with, as you have changes in generation, right? So, you got the baby boomer generation that is, really right on the cusp of retirement, right? In many, particularly the older side of the millennial, or sorry, the baby boomer generation, those that were born in, kind of the late 40s and, to the early 50s. Those folks are, coming up very quickly on retirement. And you're also going to have a lot of transition of assets, right? A lot of these properties are going to transition ownership. I'm doing business down in Florida, in Central Florida now, and that's creating opportunity for me where properties are transitioning from parents to kind of their children, and their children are now up in age, but these are parents that have lived into their 80s and 90s, and now these properties are transitioning that ownership, and that's creating, anytime you have any kind of movement or transition, as that creates opportunity, right? And so
Right.
I'm catching opportunity where children are maybe in upstate New York, and they've got parents that are needing to go do something else, or they transition but in life, and they have property down in Florida, right? And they're like, one, I didn't even know they had this, or two, I knew they had this, but I never wanted to deal with it, and I'm
Right.
1,500 miles away. And then three, if they do deal with it, utilizing services like yours, that becomes huge when they're having to clean for that transition. And if they then convert it into a rental or something like that, or vacation rental, I think your business has a really good upward trajectory, residential and on the vacation rental side, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I would agree. And even thinking about that, all different aspects of it, because of COVID, what's happening, more and more people are moving because baby boomers, like you mentioned, they might be transitioning their homes. More and more people are moving. On
Yes.
top of that, even when they move, they're going to need ongoing cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, if it's a vacation rental that they're converted to, they're going to need cleaning regardless. It's something where the more movement that happens, the more need there is. And it's not
Right.
like there's going to be less people in the US living, right? So it's,
Right.
yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, even thinking about it from the way you described it in your personal situation, I would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to add on top of that is, you kind of alluded to this earlier too, Neil, is the need for kind of specialized cleaning because
Mm-hmm.
of the pandemic, right? And so
Right.
people are going to have this extra alertness of what type of clean, what type of products are used, and do they fight against, or at least help protect, and not so much against the virus, but just against germs and bacteria and things like that as you transition between people. And so I think that awareness is going to continue, and I think that's going to get talked about in media. I think there are other companies are going to try to get into the space and that sort of
Right.
thing. And so I think it creates a tremendous opportunity for you. You're really going forward, because go back to our business travel thought. There's going to be the concern about the airport, right? There's concern about the
Mm-hmm.
rental car. So there's going to be these layers leading up to you, that are all going to be centered around cleanliness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sanitation that we never really thought about before. I mean, how many times did we go to the airport and, you're on trams taking you places, you got your hands on rails on escalators, and you're
Yeah.
touching buttons on this. And we didn't have this hypersensitive thought, Neel, to how things are being cleaned, right?
Right.
And to what level and the depth and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
so I think now people are going to have this kind of mindset leading up to getting to the actual location where you're actually cleaning, this mindset of cleanliness along the way, that I think is going to help you as you get to that point, because people are going to have it in their mind and they're going to be willing to spend money to have it done.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's an expectation now, not an
Yes.
addition. So
Yeah.
agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good
Absolutely.
point.
So how many people work with you now, by the way,
Yeah.
in your
So
business?
on the operations team, we have close to 8 to 10 people on the operations team. Like I mentioned, everyone's remote across about 6 or 7 different countries right now.
Awesome.
Uh, yeah, so it's a good team. We've all been together for quite a long time right now and really understand the industry. And the cool part is because everyone's global, at least pre-pandemic, I was able to go visit them in their respective countries, and it was just kind of a cool feeling. Like, wow, I've never met you before. We've been working together for 3 years.
Right.
Now here we are in South Africa, right?
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. And so, as you go through, the pandemic, we don't know when it's really going to end, but what are your thoughts on continuing to grow the business? Obviously, you launched the franchise side.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on growing that? Are you looking to really grow that piece of it, where other entrepreneurs are able to leverage the branding that you've put in place to create a nice kind of business platform for themselves?
Yeah, honestly, that's my main focus. And Champ, it kind of goes back to why are you doing business in general? And
Yeah,
I know you probably have a really strong why, which is probably to help people. That's why you're doing this podcast to begin with.
sure.
For me, it would be allowing people to leverage exactly what we've done. Now, of course, I will also benefit. The company will also benefit from it. But the
Of
reality is,
course.
I don't really want this to be like 100 franchisees all the US. It's just,
Yeah.
I'd rather hand select 10 to 20 people, let them dominate their market, use all of the resources we've ever done to build my business as size it is right now, and just really have an awesome community. That's my
Yeah.
goal. Because that's what I want to do with business, right? It's not just to make the most amount of money. That's not really the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're exactly right. I want to focus on the franchise part, hand select people, help them build a great community, help them with business. And I think that would give me a lot of fulfillment. So
Yeah,
that's the
no
plan
doubt,
forward.
Neil. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. And so, for those that are interested in learning more about how to franchise with you, and get a franchise, quite frankly, how could they do so?
Yeah, you just go to www.maidthisfranchise.com, MaidThis franchise.com. If you mentioned you came from Champions podcast, even better.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd love to hear where you're coming from. But yeah, that's pretty much the main way. You could check me out online, check out Made This online, and make sure it's something you're looking for.
yeah, absolutely. You and I were talking offline a little bit, Neil, about kind of that mindset. And, I kind of want to, share this with the audience, with the MYB community, about the type of mindset that you need to have. And that, quite frankly, you're looking for someone that, were to come to your doorstep interested in, purchasing a franchise and being a franchise owner under your brand. Can you talk about that a little bit, about the type of mindset it takes to be successful, right? Because quite frankly, you and I both know this, that sometimes people do things when you talk about that why earlier. Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a strong enough motivating factor. They see the hype of something. They see, they in their mind it's
Mm-hmm.
sexy, right? It has a
Yeah.
sex appeal to it, but they may not have quite the right mindset in terms of how to go about really making it successful consistently, right? And really
Right.
putting in the work. So can you talk about that from your perspective?
Absolutely. And I would actually love to hear your thoughts on the main quality as well right afterwards. For me, I
Sure.
think what I would say makes someone quote unquote more successful would be just resourcefulness.
Hmm.
If they're resourceful, meaning if there's a problem, they own it, they will find a solution to it, they will figure it out. That's probably the one biggest quality I see that a lot of entrepreneurs have, which lets them keep going.
Yeah.
Also, you will be more resourceful if this is your why, this is something you really want to do, you have to do it. you're gonna figure it out. It
Yeah.
just all you can do. For example, on my end, I really wanted this to work. I was grabbing money out of my ATM and give it to people outside of my business, my company's parking lot, right? It's just
Right.
you're gonna
Right.
figure something out at least. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, so being resourceful, I think, is the one biggest quality you can have, and having a
Yeah.
strong reason of why you're doing it will help guide you through any of the rocky situations would happen.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, Neil, and I appreciate that. I think that's a tremendous answer, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. What I would add is that you have to have a tenacious focus. Yeah, and I use that term a lot. Tenacious, meaning that you go after it aggressively. You have an aggressive focus, meaning that if you're someone, as an example, that wants a made this franchise, you aggressively go for it. You're not distracted by every little thing. You don't have the squirrel mentality, right? Of today I want to make this franchise, and then tomorrow I want to do Subway, and then the next day I want to be this, and then 2 months from now I want to be this, right? You go for it, and again, it's tied back to the why. So you have this tenacious focus for it. The other thing is that you build relationships, right? Business is all about trust and confidence, right? People do business with you because they trust you and they have confidence that you could deliver, right? That's why they reach out, they do business with you. That's why they do repeat business with you. Trust and confidence. And so I encourage anybody, and whether you were to go get a Made This franchise or anything that you're doing, is to focus on building the relationships. How do you communicate? How do you add value bi-directionally? And how are you able to articulate and then deliver on that trust and confidence? And I think that anybody that approaches you about a franchise, one of the things that you would look at would be that, can you develop a trusted confidence? Because again, and you've done that throughout your whole business model, because your whole business is predicated, Neel, on remote work, right? So
Yep.
you were doing this long before, like you say, the pandemic. 7 years, that's
Yeah.
long before any of people are talking about it now, since 2020. That's over the last several months, but you
Right.
built your business model off of that. So you had to have trust and confidence from the very beginning, whether you're giving cash out in the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Or you've got, use me as an example, Ron, that's over in Hong Kong, that's working for your business and delivering value, that's not sitting at a desk right in front of you where you can watch him
Right.
all the time, right? So I would think you would look for that in a person. Is you look at that person and say, okay, can I trust that this person's going to deliver without me watching them, right?
Right.
Or telling them what to do, and can they uphold my brand with the level of integrity that you've built it with over these last 7 years? Does this person represent that, right? And when you have that trust and confidence, that, and even if they run into a snag, or whatever, they make a mistake, whatever, they'll come to you. And again, that trust and confidence is that you can have faith in what they're telling you, and you can believe them, and they're trustworthy, right? And so when those things exist, I think for you or anybody else that's listening, man, I think that goes such a long way, such a long way.
Agreed. Agreed. And I think it also has to do with just being the best version of you in your business. But the main thing is being you. For example, when
Yes,
I was working
absolutely.
in private equity finance, I just didn't quite feel like myself in the corporate setting. I felt like I had to put on kind of a persona, and it made me very exhausted doing that. The reality is you build more trusted relationships and that type of relationship by being you. That doesn't mean snapping when you're grouchy because you're just being yourself. That means being the best version of you, but actually being
Right.
authentically you,
Yes.
because you're going to feel more fulfilled. People feel more connected to you since you're real. And that actually helps a lot with everything. Think tactical, client retention, customer retention, team member retention, building connections, networking. Everything just comes from being authentically you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely goes hand in hand with everything.
You know what? That's a tremendous point to wrap that piece of it up, Neel, is to be yourself. Because, and particularly, if you're using your company as an example, I'll use me as part of that example. If I come to you and wanted to do a Made This franchise, I can't be you, right? I'm not going to be a really good version of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I can't come into it trying to emulate you in every single sense of the phrase. I've
Right.
got to be me. Right. And so I've got to come to you. And that's what's going to add value for you. And that's what's going to add value for me, is not me coming trying to be Neel. I have to be Ron, but then I have to, I like, and I use the analogy of sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you take basketball, for example, it's got a finite court, right? You can't just go anywhere in the gym and just shoot the ball or play, right? You play on the court. So you provide these boundary lines, but within that, there's rules of what, where what you can and can't do, in the sense of where you can go. Then within that, everybody has their own right to their creativity of what they do within the rules that they set, right? If you want to go left or you want to go right, you have that decision power to go do that, right? But there's still the out of bounds line, right?
Absolutely.
So, that's the analogy that I kind of use, is that, people understanding, that ability to be themselves on the court. And every basketball player is themselves, right? If you take the best in the world, LeBron James, whoever you feel is up there, everybody has their own tendencies. They, some shoot the ball better than others, some have different preferences, but they all have to adhere to the out of bounds line. As good as LeBron is, he can't run up to the top row and try to shoot from up there, right? You can't do it.
Rules of the game. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I think, franchise owners like yourself, could do a really good job of allowing people to be who they are on the court, while also putting in, the rules to make the game as equitable as possible. Right.
Right. Yeah,
And
Ron,
so,
before the call, you were dropping some amazing analogies, and I kept saying, I'm going to steal them. This is another analogy. I'm like, I'm definitely using this analogy. This is great. I'm a basketball fan. This is perfect. So I love it.
Yeah, no doubt. And one of the analogies we talked about was, from those Justice League movies. So, Marvel fans, hold your ears for a second. But, something that I shared with Neel as we were talking offline was, that analogy of one of the scenes where Batman is kind of coaching Flash, right, in the Justice League movie. And what it was is, you got the, I would go through all the characters, but you had the villain, right, who had kidnapped a bunch of doctors and that sort of thing. And the Justice League was there to kind of save the day. And this was the first time that Flash had gone to battle, right? So liken this to your first time kind of getting the business, your first time becoming a franchise owner, your first time doing anything, right? And you're a little nervous and you're a little shaky about it. You're a little unsure of yourself. And what I was sharing with Neel was, Batman did interesting coaching with the Flash. Now you think this is, a guy with superpowers, right? Why is he insecure? Well, he's human, right? So just because he's got these superpowers doesn't mean he's secure in them, right? His first time in battle. So he asked Batman, well, what do I do? Right? This guy looks big and mean. What did I do? All I've ever done in my life is just run fast, right? I'm the Flash, right? So all I've ever done is just push people and run away. Right? So Batman just says, no. Just go save one person. Go get one person, bring them back. He said, easy enough. Then what do I do? It's like, you'll know what to do, right? But first thing, take one thing and go do it, right? And so that's what I share with those of you that are listening is, like Neel said, he's built these processes in his business. But when you're getting started, you alluded to this a little bit. You took kind of one thing and you had your reason why, Neel, and then you just went and did that, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so the first thing you had to do to build your business is you had to clean your first property, right? You had to start with one.
One step, yeah.
Right. So you went and did the one and then came back and said, oh, we can do that. Now let me go do it again. Let me go do another one. And so that's what, the Flash learned there from Batman is, and what happened is he went and saved the one, saw he could do that again, and then went and saved everybody out. You know what I mean? Because he's a Flash, right? So in less than a minute, he goes and gets all the people, right? But he had to start by getting the one. And so I encourage you in my B community is, when getting started, there's all the, you can watch YouTube videos, you can get on Clubhouse, you can do all this different stuff, right? All day long, right? To amass all this knowledge and take notes. But, for instance, if you're getting involved with Neel, you got to start by, take one piece of it and do it, right? Which the first thing is, like Neel said, go to MaidThisFranchise.com. That's your first thing, right? So if you're thinking about, well, all these different things I got to do, Neel already told you, go to the website. That's your first thing.
That's one thing.
So even if you just say today, what am I going to do? Exactly. That's your flash moment, right? That's your flash point, right? Just today, take one thing. If only thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to go to the website, like Neel said, and just go there, right? That's your thing today. Just go there.
One thing a day, just consistency.
And look through the first page. Don't even look through the whole website. Look through the first page, right? And then tomorrow, look through the second page. You know what I mean? And then,
baby steps.
And then reach out to Neel's team. Write down your questions. Reach out to Neel's team. Get answers to your questions, right? and then keep building on the steps. So I think it just goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yep. So, Neel, as we kind of wrap up, man, because this is tremendous. It's tremendous to talk with you, man, and kind of learn about your business and learn about how you're operating through this COVID environment and that sort of thing. I think I love the passion that you have with your business, and you're doing personal travel and things like that. If you were to leave one or two nuggets with this audience, from everything that you've done and that you continue to do, what's one or two things that someone sitting at home that's listening to this podcast, what's something they can, kind of go do or kind of be mindful of, as it relates to business that has helped you be successful?
So, Champ, this whole time you've been dropping great analogies on me. I'm going to drop one for you. Feel free to steal it if you want.
Yes, absolutely.
My favorite one is you can't steer a parked car. So what I mean by that is if you're trying to steer a car and you're not doing anything, it's not going to move. But once you start getting a little bit of momentum, you could kind of move. And right now I'm learning motorcycle. Same concept where if I'm trying to shift the gears and it's stopped, I can't do it. But as long as I get a little bit of momentum, things become easier. If I pick up speed, it becomes more steady. Things become more obvious. Things become easier. So it kind of goes along to what you're saying before is it doesn't matter what you do. Just do a little bit of something consistently. For example, when I started MaidThis, it wasn't like this grand idea of, I have this novel idea. I'm going to devote a bunch of money, make a business plan and do it. Like, forget that. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to get a little bit started. And if it doesn't work, you could find something else out pretty quickly. But the biggest step is just going and not making any excuses of things you might need to do to get ready. Because the reality is you don't need that many things to get ready. You just take little steps and just keep blinders on and focus on it. So I guess that would be my tip, is just keeping that analogy in mind.
Yeah, no, I'm going to use that one too. So you might hear that on some other podcasts. You can't steer a parked car. I love that. I think about when my girls, I got, young girls, when they were real young and they would sit in my lap and they pretend they're driving, right? We're sitting in the car and, they turn the steering wheel and in their mind, they're moving, right? They're driving just like they see me and, other people do, their mom and all that, my wife. And, it's funny, and they got a big kick out of that, right? But in the reality, right, they're not going anywhere.
Not going,
right. And it's funny how a lot of people, like you say, just like when my folks were 1 and 2 years old, it's funny how we become adults and we still do the same thing. We get excited by turning the steering wheel, right? Sitting in the garage. Right. And at some point, you got to crank up the car, you got to put it, reverse and back out, then put it in drive and go.
You got to make the moves.
Yeah, you got to make the moves. No, I love that. You got to take action. So Neel Parekh is our guest today here on the Minding Your Business podcast. Neel, this has been an honor, man. I love it. Love your business model. Look to remain connected with you. And we got to get you in the podcasting, man. You're a natural.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I got the headset and everything. So
you're all set, man. So we need to get, I think you could do very well in the podcasting space.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Talking with the people that you do business with and even with your personal travels. I think there's a way to weave that in to a really interesting and intriguing podcast, man. So think about it.
Yeah, definitely will. Definitely will.
Yeah. So listen, man, I'll let you get back to it, the rest of your day, man. But Neel, thank you so much again, brother. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. Neel Parekh, our guest today on the Minding Your Business podcast. Make sure you check about MaidThisFranchise.com. Go there, learn more about the business. If you're interested and you're serious and love the space and want to learn more about getting involved, do that. And if you want to support the business, I encourage you to do that. If you have a rental or just residential property and things like that, reach out to Neel and his team. Having that level of service for your cleaning needs goes a long way. So I encourage you, and that link's going to be in the show notes. So make sure that you click right there, reach out, and let Neel and his team know that you heard him right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. All right. Listen, there's 3 things that unite us all, no matter where you're from, no matter what side of the lake you're from, what side of the ocean, what side of the tracks. We all have 3 things in common. We all want to be a little bit better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. And if we keep that in mind with everybody that we meet, everybody that we come across, even in the midst of this pandemic, We may be physically distant, but we really shouldn't socially distant. We're social beings, and we should interact and connect. But you'll find yourself being empathetic and seeing people in a different light when you understand that we all have and are all striving for the same things. So there are many things that try to divide us, right? There's blue and red, there's black and white, there's this person and that person. We use a lot of things to try to divide us, but those are areas that we're similar in. So keep that in mind as you go across through your walk. We all want to be a little better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. Champion on the Minding Your Business podcast. Take care. Be great.